Can we block Andrew's video? Just
I don't understand. Yeah. Andrew, you're from the Bay Area, I'm assuming? I feel like we've talked about this. Can't hear you.
Oh, stop muting me.
Are you from the Bay Area?
Yeah.
So are you a Golden State fan?
Yeah.
I can get behind that. Other than that, I got not a lot of love.
Yeah, A's, Warriors, Raiders, and Sharks.
I'll go to an A's game with you. The Yankees are in Oakland every year. Just say yes. No interest. Cool. Appreciate you, bud. All right, guys. Looks like we're still going to have some people jumping in, but for the sake of time, let's go ahead and get started if everybody's good with that. Yeah?
Yeah, because my head's going to pop in this helmet.
I feel so bad for you.
Hey, Ray, can we unfiller Robin's bucket for not having a team on that hat?
There's a team on there. You just can't see it.
Is there?
Robin doesn't know. Robin has one color, dude, and you got to know that. You expected her to really have, like, team, like...
It's a 49er hat.
Yeah.
The 49er hat.
No colorful team spirit going on. That's not her style. All right, guys. So Friday, obviously, weren't able to go through Tactic 4. Today is Tactic 5 in shift. So my hope is that on Thursday we'll be able to cover part of Tactic 4 before we do our mastermind. So today we are talking about Tactic 5, which is focused on lead conversion. Cool. Love it. So
yes.
The thing that we hear a lot, and it's just kind of the nature of the beast, is that, you know, we have agents that are generating leads and like, oh, the leads aren't going anywhere. And honestly, I think it's probably a consensus. Would you guys agree? That's probably going to be more common as we shift, as the market starts to change. Do you guys agree?
Mm-hmm.
I think that, you know, we're going to see, not necessarily in abundance, but we're going to see leads coming in, and the close rate is probably going to go down from what it was. So it's fantastic right now that we're able to talk about how we're going to master lead conversion and tools in place to do that. A big thing that I would stress, and for me, I geek out on numbers. I love, put a spreadsheet in front of me and I'm in my happy place. Start tracking everything. The number of calls that you make against the number of contacts that you make, against the number of prospects or leads that you capture, against the number of appointments that you're able to set, against the number of appointments that you're able to go on. If you haven't set your goals in Command, it has a number tracker for a lot of that. And when you're able to track your leads, you're able to systematically put together a business plan or a model in place that allows you to hit your goals. So if you know it takes X amount of calls to get X amount of contacts, to set so many appointments, to convert so many appointments, and ultimately your job comes down to, great, how many calls do I have to make that allow me to hit my goal? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. I think going forward, it's going to be more important than ever to what it refers to in the book as being first to the table. Folks already aren't interviewing a ton of agents, and going into a shifting market, I think that's probably going to become more so the case, which makes it extremely important to be the first contact and the first appointment. Does that make sense? Yeah? Cool. It says that the key to setting an appointment really just comes down to two things, and it's knowing what to say, which are our scripts, and then knowing what to do, which would be our systems, right? So they break lead conversion down into 3 stages. We've got capture, connect, and close. And if we dive into capturing leads, basically what the focus is getting as much information from a prospect as possible. You guys know what information we're looking for? The 4 big pieces of information that we want. Obviously, we want name. Other than that, we're going to want numbers, phone numbers, an email address, and for me, a physical address. If you can get 3 of those 4, and a name should be a given, so 2 of the other 3, unless you've got 2 of those other 3, I don't even really consider it a prospect or a lead. Do you guys have a different way that you structure your labels or what you would consider a lead? Thomas Baker, how are you, sir? Any other input?
All good.
Mark, every time I look over at you, dude, I just blows my mind. All right, so basically,
it sucks because I need my bendy straw, man.
Yeah. So just lift it up a little bit.
I can't. This thing's not coming up. I got to cut it off with the Sawzall.
So Ray, I got it working. I did it on my phone instead of my laptop.
Yay! Candace, welcome.
And I have something to say.
Please do.
So when you were just saying, do we have any different ways of identifying a lead or sort of qualifying them even as a prospect? So Clinton and I use Boomtown.
Mhm.
So sometimes they put in false information, but it does scrub them a little bit so that you either come out with an email address, you get a name, of sorts. You either come out with an email address or a phone number, or sometimes even both. And often they're both accurate. But for me, that doesn't really mean a whole lot, because if they're not responsive, for 1, 2, 3, 4 months, you have all this information and that's all well and good. And you see they're going on your website, but clearly either I'm not saying the right thing or they're just not ready.
Mhm.
And I always make it clear, like if you're working with somebody else, I never want to step on anyone's toes. Just let me know and I'll pump the brakes. But if you really get no responses, then that's great to have all that information, but you can't really do a whole lot with it.
And that's exactly what we're diving into, is the lead capture is part of it, or the lead generation is a big part of it. Especially now, we're going to see less of those leads convert. So your lead conversion models have to be tight. They've got to be in place. And we've got a lot of agents that use Boomtown, and I've used platforms where the information is spotty. I've embraced and beaten a dead horse. I've embraced a lot of social media. The reason that I like social media is the information that they put into their social media platform is the information that I get when I receive a lead through social media. And most of the time that's accurate. It's got the email that they use for their Facebook and the phone number that they registered with, which a lot of times that's what they're logging. I mean, that's their login info. That's accurate information. So it really comes down to, once we capture the lead, how do we continue to engage them and convert them? And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But yeah, I 100% agree, Candace. We're going to see, I think, even more so, that lead conversion become paramount, because it's one thing to have the info. It's another thing to be able to close it or get a referral from it. Okay.
Right.
So essentially the big thing to note, and I love what it says in the book, that, we offer a service and information to our clients. Now we need to be clear with that service and that information that everything that we do is with the idea of getting a deal from providing that service and info. Okay, it says very explicitly that buyers and sellers are going to engage you first for information, second for service, and then third for business. Okay, business always comes last. So essentially what it pushes is provide what they need and be vigilant in getting what you need. After all, it's only our livelihood that depends on it. So we have to be very diligent about getting the information and driving the conversation in the direction that we want it. And I love the way that it puts it. Asking for information is just asking. It doesn't ever hurt to ask. The worst thing that's going to happen is if you ask for somebody's information, they say, I'm not comfortable. I hope the information that I was able to give you helps. If you have any other questions down the road, please give me a call. Don't attach a bunch of emotion to getting a no. It's just asking and you doing your job. It's part of the job. You're going to get people's no's. Now, also note that it's not your job to give out as much information for free or do a bunch of work for free. Okay, I think all of us probably have that servant's heart and we want to give, and that's fantastic. That's why we're in a service-based industries, and yet you should be comfortable asking for information in return, or making sure that you see this as a business transaction, so that you don't get caught in a position where you're spinning wheels and never getting anywhere. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, it put very clearly a cool thing that I liked in this chapter. You never hear from a buyer or seller, from a buyer, that real estate agent sold us a home that we didn't want, or you never hear a seller say, that slick agent talked us into selling our home that we didn't want to sell, right? Have any of you ever gotten that?
Nope.
I've never gotten it. I've never heard of anybody having that happen. Ultimately, they're gonna transact when they want to transact, okay? So make sure that when we're talking about capturing leads, the best thing to do is use a script, use a straightforward script, and just ask for what you want. Okay, for me, it's always, hey, thank you so much for that. I'm gonna send over some information for you today. What's the best email to send that to? Or thanks for sharing. What's the best number to get in contact with you so that we can set an appointment? It's pretty simple, just ask. And for me, I like structuring it kind of back to back. Hey, thank you, and what's the best number? Or hey, thank you, and what's the best email? Do you guys have any other techniques that you use to make sure that we're capturing information that you guys want to share?
Or
Yes.
what do you do?
Well, I have quite a bit people that I send out emails and connections and stuff like that. I just, to that, I just got a listing actually. So
Oh, nice.
I'm trying to get I talked with Film 60 guys, just to give you guys a heads up on it. I talked with the guy named Patrick, and because of coronavirus, they're actually giving some discounts, FYI. The 360 video with the Zoom capability, individual website, so they can actually put a link to, floor plan and dimensions, and all included at $300, which is a pretty good deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a company called Synocry or Synology or something like that, and they actually do a 35 shots for $100 under 2,500 square foot. So obviously you got to do staging and stuff, but when you start negotiating with people due to the what's going on, you get a pretty good discount.
What did you say the name of the first company was? The 360 video with the site, floor plan, and dimensions?
360.
What is it?
Film 360. FILM 360.
And then the 35 shots for $100. How much? Or what company was that? Or what?
Including the they have the camera. They do the 360 rotation. They have a zoom capability on that, as well as they give you a website that with the address, so you can link it to your MLS and you can put it on the YouTube and all that stuff. And then it gives you a floor plan with the dimensions. So I think it's a pretty good. I did have the floor plan on it, but this will be with the staging pictures and everything else. It looks pretty good. So I watched their video and I called him and talked to him. So that was $300.
Nice.
So just to add to that, so Patrick, I actually met Patrick through List It Live. Are you guys familiar with List It Live?
Yeah.
So I did, I put both my listings on there. Patrick, those guys do an absolute amazing job at what they do. The technology that they have for just the whole listing and then lead capture on top of that is far advanced than I ever seen. But List It Live's really cool too. And then you can get plugged in with Patrick and his team through that. So, I highly recommend anybody with a great listing to go on there and give your 2-minute pitch on that. I did 2 of mine and both of them had over 45,000 views on it. And then he'll embed those videos on your website. And it's more or less like a social media platform website with your YouTube videos and like all your listings, and it's all categorized. It's super neat. It's super clean. And it's kind of getting away from the traditional website with the tabs and the drop downs. People just won't stay on your website if they don't see clickable videos, and they do a really good job of utilizing that. The social media avenue for sure.
And you said that's
List It Live.
Do you have his contact info?
Yeah, I do.
I got
give it to you.
information. If anybody's ready, I'll give you the phone number.
Go ahead.
619-343-8619.
Cool. I just sent that in the chat, guys. That's killer. Or I appreciate you, bud. You're the man. Mark, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, let's carry on and get through some content from Shift. Let's talk about connecting with leads. Connecting with leads is essentially just laying the foundation for a working relationship. You want to know who your client is, understand their needs and wants, become aware of the worries and concerns that they have. One of the favorite questions that I always ask is, what's the one thing that concerns you most about the upcoming transaction, that concerns you most about, selling your home or buying your next home? You'll find out a lot about people, I think, when you ask that question, and it kind of get them to think, and you're able to connect on a really different level. Have you guys ever tried that? Give it a shot. Let me know what kind of stuff you see. We had a scenario where one of the gal's concerns was literally, you know, I don't know how I'm going to transport my cats. We had one of the cat lady things, and she had a gang of cats, and I was like, all right, cool. So, you know, we leave the listing appointment, we got the listing, and for the next like week and a half, my team is researching how we're going to transport it. I think it ended up being like 13 cats to get from point A to point B. And by us doing that, it made the process easy for her. I guarantee you, like, her and her friends are not using another real estate professional because we were able to ask that question and isolate that one thing, which is definitely a weird thing and something that she might not have mentioned otherwise if I didn't ask. We were able to facilitate the process, make it easier. Now we've got a client for life. So be comfortable asking those questions. You'll find out a lot about the people that you're working with. And during that connecting phase, it's important that you understand who your clients are. Make sure that you're listening. And if you look at page 95, they've got the 6 connecting questions that you can go through. And essentially what you want to get down to is who they are, what do they want or need to do, where do they want or need to do it, why do they want or need to do it, when do they want or need to do it, and how do they plan on doing it. Okay. And then if you go to the following pages, 96 and 97, I love that when asking each of these questions, part of the response is after you've listened to their reply, part of the response is thanks for sharing that. You know, it's genuine. It acknowledges, you know, the relationship that you're building. Does that make sense, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Any questions right now? All right, let's keep going. Once we've done the connecting phase, once we built the relationship, we need to get into closing. And I think this is where we run into a lot of issues. So I'd love some interaction and see what you guys use to get to the closing. Essentially, closing is where you get your appointment. You ask for the appointment. And ultimately what it says is just ask. How are you guys, do you guys have any specific techniques or scripts that you're using when asking for the appointment? Mark?
You know, I don't really follow a specific game plan. I just ask, like you said, I just kind of go through what their needs and wants are, their timelines, and just get as much information as I can up front without really pressuring them into, hey, are you ready to sign? So I just try to get all that information and kind of, you know, work my way into that conversation towards the end.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends on where the conversation's headed. You know, if they're not really ready to list right now, or they're, you know, over the top price, you know, it kind of absorbs, and then I try to just get a better idea of what they actually need through asking as many questions as I can.
Okay, I like that. Or what about you? Do you have any closing lines or closing scripts that you use to set the appointments?
Mine are usually investors, so it's usually this is a great time to talk to them and tell them, says, hey, if you are you interested to do it right now before it's too late, type of thing. So it works.
Yeah. If you look at page 101, they have, you know, all the different types of closing. They've got, you know, the hard close, soft close, direct close, indirect close, etc. For me, my big one, I like the indirect close, depending on, like Mark said, depending on how the conversation goes. I don't want to come off too pushy. So the indirect for me is you know, hey, I'm going to send you some information. Look for that here in just a second. Let me know when you're free to meet and discuss things in more detail. So depending on you know, if it's more of a soft lead that I'm dealing with, or somebody that, you know, might not be ready for a sit down, that's the direction I'm gonna go. If I've got somebody though that I think I've got on the hook and they're ready to go, the line that Mr. Brian Kane taught me is, that's exactly why we should meet. Are you free tomorrow after 2, or is Wednesday after 2 better? And that's the alternative close that it talks about on page 102. A cool thing, I don't know if you guys have the book in front of you, but if you look at page 101, it talks about the decision continuum, which I think is super cool. And basically what it says is it outlines that a no is not an absolute no. Okay, you can have somebody say no, and yet it doesn't necessarily mean that that's set in stone. Essentially what you have is that's their go-to script, their go-to response. Now, if you start to dive deep and you ask more questions, especially if you're able to isolate, you know, what's the motivation for considering buying or selling, that absolute no could start as a maybe no and then transition back into an absolute yes. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So a no at face value is not necessarily, you know, a no. It just stresses the importance of having a good script and getting to ask those deeper questions and figure out what it is that's making them tick, understanding their needs and wants. Does that make sense, guys? All right. Let's see. The last little bit that it talks about is cultivation. And once again, you know, a lead gen problem is not necessarily going to be the big issue that we face. It's the lead cultivation problem and the closing. You know, don't let your prospects slip through the crack. I think now is the time when the 36-point touch and the continuing to connect and build a relationship is going to be crucial. Ask for referrals. We're going to come across more people now that are not necessarily ready to buy or sell now. And it outlines, you know, in a seller's market, the goal is to get to the kitchen table first. But in a buyer's market or a shifted market, you can have a lot of unmotivated clients that cost you time and money. And Mark, you brought up something earlier, and I'd love to get some folks' thoughts. You'll have people that might not necessarily have the motivation to truly sell, and they'll throw out a price that's just astronomical, you know, and not realistic. Would you take a listing in this climate with a seller who's just unrealistic about price, knowing that it's high?
Me specifically, no. I told him, I mean, we discussed everything. That he was more of a bottom line guy, and I get that a lot too. Like, I want $500,000 out of the house, no ifs, ands, buts. And I said, well, you know, obviously I would love to get you the most money I can with the least amount of stress. However, you know, calculating the numbers on what the current value of your home is, we're about 50,000 short. He said, well, then I'm not interested. So I personally couldn't really put my name on it, even though it was, you know, north of $1 million. I just didn't think it was, it's just a waste of time for me just to take a listing, just to take a listing. Yeah. If I don't think I can move it, then there's really no point in entering that relationship if the expectations aren't there on both sides. So he wasn't a numbers guy. He just wanted the bottom line number.
Yeah.
And I just said, look, you know, I'd love to help you, but I just don't think that I'm your guy. If you know, you want to list it at this price, I don't think it's going to move.
I love that. And sometimes you have to be willing to walk away from a transaction and recognize that your time is better spent cultivating a more motivated lead that's realistic about price. Or what about you? How do you tackle things like that? Would you take a listing in this climate knowing that it's overpriced?
Depending on how overpriced it is. If it's, you know, I'm not that concerned about $50,000, but if it's $1 million listing or million plus and $50,000-$60,000, it's not going to make a huge difference to get the listing, because the way the market is, I think we can negotiate and talk with them and bring it down fairly fast, because it brings reality to, you know, once you have the people are not interested on it, you can say, hey, we got to get it down to get interest on it, and we can get the things down. Right now, a lot of stuff coming on the market is a little bit overpriced, I noticed, especially in the market area on Carmel Valley. You know, it's just kind of like one of those things is people getting overpriced listings. But your expert area, I mean, I don't know the markets, but I'm like UTC area, I'm pretty familiar with exactly how much it will sell. That's where most of my sales are. And I know exactly how much is going to sell. I mean, sale is like an important thing, but we can bring the price down for a minimal effort versus that you take a listing and it just sits there forever.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Or on this specific listing, though, I forgot to mention that it was previously listed.
Oh, okay.
And he dumped the property. He dumped the agent because the buyers came back with $12,000 worth of requests for repairs, and he didn't want to put in $1 because it wasn't meeting his bottom line. So I was just kind of gauging him, asking questions, and I was like, this is going to be a tough relationship. And, you know, even if I get his price, you know, even if somebody asked for money back because it's built in '64, it needed a lot of work. It wasn't updated at all. So I was just kind of foreshadowing what my relationship was going to be down the road, getting that price and then, you know, surfing around the request for repairs, it just wasn't going to happen.
Well, it all depends on the property, you know, just
Yeah.
what you feel comfortable at. You know your expert area more than anybody else does. So it's just one of those things. It's like if
Yeah.
somebody comes in, hey, I want to list my property for 1.5, and you know
Mhm.
it's not going to sell for that. You know, you can walk away and like you did, or you can say, hey, this is the reality. Here's the stuff. So
Right.
it's kind of in our job to actually train and teach them mostly, because a lot of people are going in there saying, well, this is what I want. Well, it's what you want and what you get is a two different thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Personally, I've made it a philosophy, and Kevin Blaine kind of taught me, you know, I won't walk away from a property or from a market. I'll walk away from a person. Sometimes a person is just a little too much of a headache. I won't compromise my mental stability or my well-being to deal with somebody that's going to just be more difficult than they are supportive and you know, invested in the relationship. If it's an issue with price, though, I genuinely look at it, you know what, it goes back to that decision continuum. You know, I'm stuck on, I have to make $500,000 from this property. You know, I got my chance to pitch the price. I'll take another shot at pitching my price. And if that doesn't work, great, let's list it at yours. Let's make sure we get traffic and eyes on the property. And then in 2 weeks, look at what we've got and make adjustments as needed. I genuinely think that if I don't take the listing, that seller is going to get a weaker agent, that even if we get 490, that agent's not going to fight for 490. I will. You know, even if the number ends up being 470, if they're truly motivated and, you know, that decision continuum is at a maybe no at 490, and we're able to actually convey to them in realistic terms, like, look, this is about as good as it's going to get given the market where we are right now. I know that I'm the agent to adequately convey that information and put them in a position where maybe they don't get 5, but they're going to get more with me than they will with somebody else. Does that make sense?
All in honesty, too, it's just the way when you talk to them, you kind of get the feeling of what the person is, and
Yeah.
you know, with their attitude, the way they talk to you. If it's not going to work out, just walk away. It's not worth the hassle. It's not worth the, you know, going through all that emotional ups and downs on this thing, because if they're taking this as very emotional thing, just walk away.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think most of the time, and you know, it's not to say that every client doesn't deserve fantastic service, but I think that the difficult clients know they're difficult clients. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody goes into a transaction and they're shocked and like, oh, I was really, really difficult in that transaction, or oh, I was maybe a little unrealistic in my price. You know what I mean? I feel like the ones that are stuck at those numbers that are unrealistic, they probably know they're unrealistic numbers. There's a reason that they fired the other agent after $12,000 in repair requests in a market when, you know what, probably not a bad deal.
Right. And, you know, I used one of Brian's scripts walking out of there, because I know he was going to interview other agents. And I said, look, I said, you know, when I leave and you have another agent come in, they're going to be all for you. They're going to scratch your back and say, look, I can do it at $1,050,000, no problem. I said, but do me a favor. Make sure that you have a cancellation clause in your contract. When they come back to you for a price reduction, that the contract is automatically canceled.
Sure.
And he was like, what? And he kind of stopped dead in his tracks. And now he's doing a for sale by owner, because he just got fed up with, you know, people telling him that his house wasn't worth that price. And he actually just called me about a week ago and said he's absolutely miserable, and agents are now using the excuse to get into his home, saying they have buyers, to actually get in front of him for a listing appointment. He's getting very irate, he said. So, you know, maybe it's a matter of time. I just told him, look, I'm honest, I'm transparent. I use numbers as my gauge. I tell you what is selling around your area. And, you know, I hope you respect that. I'm not telling you your home is not at value what you think it is. I'm just telling you what your home is going to sell for, what buyers are willing to pay for your home right now with all the other comparables in the area.
Yeah. Numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
Whether we like it or not, we are in recession, guys. Just it's just the fact. It's just
We're going to see it.
It's going to be in here for a little while.
Yeah. it gets back to what we were talking about. Make sure that when you set these appointments and when you talk to these clients, we really focus on motivation. We know the motivated clients versus the ones that are just, going to throw a property on market. You're going to go through a bunch of stress and then get fired over a repair request, So be safe out there, guys. Any questions? That's pretty much all we've got for tactic number 5 and shift tomorrow. Which one are we going over? Any questions on tactic 5?
Nope.
You guys good?
I kind of have a question for everybody, a little bit off topic.
Yes, sir.
So where did everyone kind of learn to write their scripts? Did you learn to write them from somewhere, or did you kind of just figure it out as you got experience doing everything? Because I'm kind of struggling right now, being new, not really having a lot of experience in interacting with buyers, sellers, of what to say or what to write, what to figure out.
Can I be first?
Absolutely. I'd love to hear.
Holden, as you know, we do have a tons of scripts on Keller Williams.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't know what to start with, that's a great way to start.
Okay.
Now, as you select the area that you want to be concentrated on, such as for sale by owners, expired listings, canceled listings, and things like that. So again, the Mark does it different. I deal with the investors. So you talk differently with the different people.
Mm.
As you get expertise in certain areas that you're really, really comfortable at, then you adjust your script according to.
Okay.
But that comes with time and with a little bit of experience. But to start with, definitely use the scripts that is on the Keller Williams. The scripts part. I use those and get familiar with it. When I went to family reunion, it was the one thing that my first family reunion, it was mind-boggling because the people that is actually very successful in their business, they were using the scripts like the language. They were so comfortable repeating it, and they were repeating it, so it becomes so comfortable to them. That was part of their conversation.
Okay.
So, but you're gonna tweak it, you're gonna adjust it, you're gonna do all that certain things for you to be comfortable at, because better, believe it or not, when you talk with the script, it just looks, I don't know, what the metallical type of sound. So I mean, thank you for calling me. Thank you for giving me, that's kind of like, get rid of that and go front of the mirror and talk as, experience, and find out how you sound like. The best way to do, a very good friend of mine used to do this, record yourself. See how it sounds like. And that's a great advice. Go front of the mirror and play the recording, and it says, oh, look awful. So, it's just make it your own. Then you will be comfortable at it.
Hey, Holden, what's your cell number? I'll text you. I have the Ignite scripts right here. I'll email you this. There's tons and tons and tons of scripts in here, every possible scenario. I'll go ahead and share this with you. I don't know if you were in the office when we went through Ignite, but I have a copy here.
I wasn't in the office when we went through Ignite, but my number is 831-233-2921.
All right. After the call, I'll just send me your email, and then I'll forward this over to you.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Buddy.
Appreciate the question, bud. Any other questions before we go?
I have a kind of a side question. So,
just kind of an experience question. So I had an incident question, I should say, but my head's getting squeezed with this helmet. I can't think anymore.
Your face is getting red, dude.
So I had an agent that showed, I wonder if anybody had gone through this. I had an agent that showed a condo complex. He took the keys out, used the fob, put the keys back, but lost the fob. So I had a showing yesterday and the guy's like, I can't get in the building with the key. And I said, use the fob. There's no fob. Has anybody ever experienced, or what kind of accountability can you hold the other agent to?
Yeah, I've had issues where, we've had the agent replace the fob.
Oh, really? Because I have the Century printout that I have to send over to MLS and show that, you know, hey, the fob was there when he used it and now it's gone. But the fobs are $300 and my seller's freaking out. Like she wants me to take it off the market.
That's a good anecdote that I've used, you know, for agents that still use the combo box. You know, we can't track those.
Yeah.
You know, on a flip property, I had a combo box on one of our flips that we did, and I ended up having the mirrors stolen, and I was pissed because I was meant to put like the super Centra box like 2 days after.
Yeah.
I couldn't track who was the last person to access the key.
Right.
So it just goes to stress the importance. That's why we have those boxes, so we can track who's in and out. And so if the last person that was in, you know, didn't put the fob back, then you're able to trace and say, look, this is the last time we had it.
Did the agent just say, you know, my bad, let me replace it, or did you have to go through any?
No, I talked to the agent first, said no, it wasn't me, and then my broker got involved, called their broker, and then the broker sat down with the agent and we got it covered. They just wrote a check.
All right.
We
Yeah,
just had that happen too.
How did you resolve it, Rachel?
We talked to the agent directly first. The agent admitted that they were in there and lost the key. They couldn't find it in their car, in their clothes. So they had to go back and replace the lock.
Yeah. And I wouldn't, you know,
fob, but still.
I think if you approach it professionally, like, hey, you know what, stuff happens. I understand that stinks. You know, obviously my seller, you know, doesn't deserve to come out of pocket for it. Let's figure it out. $300 check, get this resolved quickly. You know, and then if they give you blowback, like, all right, man, I'll have my broker contact your broker.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants a lawsuit
before.
for $300.
Yeah. No shit. I actually got home from showings and I reach in my pocket and I have keys in my pocket and I'm like, oh my gosh, I had to drive all the way back out to go put them back, kind of freaking out. But I just don't understand how it could get lost, you know?
Yeah, I hear you, man.
But
it happens. Robin, I think we need a pet theme one of these days.
Yeah.
Andrew had the parrots on, or Don got the dogs.
I got 4 of these guys.
I should do pets instead of 70s theme.
Yeah. I don't have any 70s gear.
Yeah, I got
All
nothing
right.
70s.
Change.
Sold. I'll change it.
You're the best, Robin. I can't say thank you enough. Robin, thank you. Or Don, Mark, Andrew, Rachel, Holden, Candace, Jeff, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for joining. Hopefully we see you guys tomorrow. Any questions before we sign off? You guys are fantastic. Thank you all so much.
I did another command training, so if anybody needs anything, send me a message. We can schedule some time.
Do it online?
What's that?
You do it online?
Yeah, with Zoom.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. That invite was for everybody except for Orr, though.
Or once face to face.
Yeah, or once face to face.
We are keeping track of the spirit.
Space, guys. Come on.
Bottle of wine going to the winner. Robin's going to pick the winner so that I don't have any part in upsetting folks.
Yeah, you can, right?
We'll get a baseball game together. We'll all go. I'll sport my Yankees gear. It'll be a fun time. Till then, be safe, guys. It's good to see you, everybody.
See you, everybody.
Bye.
Cheers.
Hey, everybody.